Well, I want to propose to you the concept that humans are basically light beings, and that when we see the body, we don't really see the person. We don't see the complete person. I know this is a concept that's been existing for thousands of years and many thousands of years. People have always thought that they never. There's been a lot of cultures throughout the world that think that the people never really die; they go to another place. But I just want to bring out some other things because it seems that science, religion, and the medical all seem to converge in many times, more so than you think. One thing that's always been talked about, too, I'll just get on something medical because they say that the closer people live to the equator, the less incidence of disease, whether it's multiple sclerosis, high blood pressure, overweight, heart disease, cancer. The closer you live to the equator, the less incidence of disease. And they also say, well, that must be because of sunlight. But what they do is they actually theorize then that it's due to vitamin D production in the skin. And actually, that may only be part of the reason. Sunlight is actually doing probably a lot more than the scientists know. And actually, our bodies do emit light itself. The DNA in our body is actually a transmitter and a receiver. And this has actually been proven. Well, I could say it's maybe we'll see some of the things that are coming out more recently, like the Spooky 2 Rife machine that I've put many videos out on this channel. I guess there's a few things I thought that really worked on it was vision to improve, but it seems to work over any distance. And it's almost like there's a lot of different things that we don't understand, but it's tried to be explained by science. It's tried to be explained by medical. It's tried to be explained by the religious. But there seems to be a convergence that when they're all finding common ground on certain things, you got to figure that's probably really is the truth. And a lot of times they're finding common ground that the body is really light, energy, and frequencies. That's really what it is. That's really what we're composed of. So when we see the material, physical human body, now this is easy to say because, in the real world, if you see the physical body and you're going to get hurt by an object or something like that, you just can't think of it as a light being and it's not going to hurt me. But then again, some people have it where they can train their mind where physical blows won't hurt them. And you can see this sometimes even with these Tibetan monks that do that. But our bodies basically emit light themselves. And also we have it in our DNA itself. It's a transmitter and a receiver. This is why many times when there's something you can sense what goes on with a family member even thousands of miles away. People have that sixth sense. That's really what's going on because there's a connection. Sometimes there's always connection between people and it's just there. It's just there. It's always been there. Sometimes you meet people, you thought you knew them all your life. And maybe that's why, because there's always been that connection there. You just didn't see the physical person yet. That's actually what's going on. But a lot of times when I'm looking at these things, it goes along with many things, like even the science of color light therapy, which sometimes some people would call that pseudoscience. But light itself is a frequency, and when you refract light into its different visible spectrum of colors, they all have specific frequencies, and they actually affect the body in different ways. Look at what happened with the Lukowski coil. What is that actually doing? It's bringing up frequencies, but it also emits ultraviolet light from the sun. As a matter of fact, if you're in front of that Georges Lukowski multi-wave oscillator, you know what I'm talking about. I'm actually put some links on the bottom in the information box what some of this stuff is, but it does actually affect the body. It's something that's been known back when it was developed. The secrets were buried up until very recently, that it can extend life and cause the body to heal naturally. It was actually known as a anti-aging beauty treatment using energies in and around us. Like the Lukowski coil, probably besides increasing the frequencies of the cells to optimal level, was pulling in energies in and around us, because what was happening was when it did not work as well when there was a no moon, or when it was in a Faraday cage. I don't know why that is exactly, but it's telling you that's pulling energies that we don't see in and around us. Actually, the sun is fed by energies that from other parts of the universe, and the energies from the sun are coming to us, and it's giving us life. It's giving us life. So I think a lot of times when they're saying that, well, it's not, when they say that people at the equator typically have much less incidence of disease and live healthier life, it's not just because there's vitamin D production in the body, it's also from the frequencies from the sun. And there's actually a type of reaction that's going on in the skin besides vitamin D that's actually causing this to happen. And I think that they don't understand it. That's really what's going on. They don't understand it. They observe it, they try to explain it away, and they try to explain it away that it's only vitamin D doing this. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. There's actually they'll probably understand something else maybe 10, 20 years from now, then they'll pick up something else. But I know how people are with, with degrees and higher education and backed by a lot of science. They try to act like they know everything, and they really don't. And sometimes when it comes to knowledge, when you look to the ancients, a lot of times they were smarter than you would think, because that's where it even comes into astrology. Astrology affecting, maybe your personality or how you are by the time of the year that you were born. There might be something to that. There might really be something to it where it's science-based and not just a total superstition. Because not only are we affected by light, but we're affected by frequency, and we're affected by basically, our relationship to where we are in the universe. It's not something that it's like concrete. They like to measure everything real simple. If it doesn't show up on a gauge, it doesn't show up on a meter, they don't want. I am like that too myself, but I realize there's a lot more to the actual measured things that we could measure, that we can actually measure, see, feel, and touch. I don't like getting involved, going down too far into this type of rabbit trail, because it gets into an area that nobody really knows what it is. But I have to say this, it does exist that, people are the real person is not really what you see. The real person is something that is permanent. We're basically like light beings. Now, the religious would call that the soul, the spirit, whatever. But even some scientists now are acknowledging that we never actually die. We never actually die. But it'd be good if we never did die, because I'm not in favor of dying. I can tell you that right now. But the thing is that we don't really look. We look too much at measurable things, and too much that we can quantify, and that is really what's wrong with sometimes with the technological society, because we think we know everything and we don't. Sometimes the smartest people or the wisest were the ones that were way back. But I'll tell you again, where the scientific, the religious, and the medical find common ground sometimes, that's not always, and it's not always amongst all of them. But where sometimes if some of them each all have a common ground, that is probably where you find the absolute truth. And I think the absolute truth is, for one, if you want to be healthy, get out in the sun. That's a fact. And if you can't get out in the sun, and you don't want to buy a sun lamp, and you can't buy a Lukowski multi-wave oscillator, just get yourself a lizard lamp, and maybe you can enjoy some of the benefits while you're in a certain area of your house or something where you're still getting some of the benefits of true natural sunlight. Because I think true natural sunlight is actually something that is highly, highly beneficial to the body, but the body is not all what we are. And when I say that, I really can't explain anything beyond that except to tell you that that is a fact, but nobody can really explain to you really what's beyond that. But we do exist as light beings primarily. And some of that evidence, again, is how, you can sense what's going on with a family member sometimes, or a close friend, or sometimes you have this intuition about something, or sometimes you feel a very strong connection to a person maybe you never met and you don't understand why that is. There's something going on there because DNA, our DNA, and that's in each and every one of us, is a transmitter and a receiver. And actually, around us, we have a magnetic field. They can measure it, actually. It's very low, but we do have a magnetic field. As a matter of fact, if you were trained actually in the military, you might say this, you can sense when a person's behind you without actually seeing them. There's something going on there. The sense is really probably the magnetism you're feeling. But all living beings are connected. And that is why, never to give up hope on something when you think a situation is hopeless. Never to give up, despair or something where people think, they think these control freaks all own us or something. It's not going to happen that way. And then on the other side is if you have everything in the world and materially, that doesn't necessarily mean you have everything. Which, what I'm saying here is going right along with religion in a lot of ways, right? But that's really what it is. That's the fact. The fact of the matter is, what we have and what we see, our physical bodies and what we see physically, is not really the real us. The real us. I gotta tell you one thing. I'll tell you a little more personal story about my father, man. I could not. You would never believe the way this guy was, man. He used to go around, and this is before cell phones were around and before they had CB radios. He would say, sometimes he'd go out on a weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday, and he'd drive in his car, and he'd say, I know there's somebody out there that needs help. I know, it's just a matter of finding them. And, whether somebody needed help changing a tire, they needed to jump on their car, they needed a ride, it was a hitchhiker, or somebody was stuck someplace in the snow, or whatever, they had an emergency, he would help them. And I know all his friends, or not all his friends, most people thought he was making money off it. He never took a dime for it, ever. This was up in northeastern New Jersey, where that is rare, because I always said the guy was a southerner all the way. Now I realize what he was. He was a southerner. That's more of a southern spirit thing than you find up in a money-driven northeast with the materialism. But I can tell you that, when we look at people, we don't see all their inner strengths. We don't see everything that's going on, because you don't see... what does America really respect the most? Actually, what most people really gravitate to what gets most people attention is the money angle. How much money do we have? I'll take an example. You even look at Donald Trump. Now, I'm not knocking a guy, and I said some things about, I think he's probably maybe a Trojan horse, maybe, for Clinton. Could be. But I could tell you that a guy like that doesn't do anything for anybody for nothing. And I could tell you one thing. My father was a million times better than Donald Trump in every respected way. Because he helped people for nothing. He could have charged them money. No. He could have charged them for money. So, I'll tell you this. We're all like light beings. We're all freaking something that is not what we could see, and we're all connected. So anytime you will goodwill on this earth, you want the best for everybody. You want not just the best for yourself, but you want the best for everybody. You're actually consciously making that happen in a real way. Our will actually moves mountains. That is one reason you will not see me playing the fearmonger garbage on this channel. I mean, I delve into some of the little bit of this stuff here and there, but I don't go too far down that rabbit trail. Because we, by having that inner spirit and having that right spark of attitude, can influence anything. Anything. And as far as the evil people, I'll pull no punches with them at all. I'll pull no punches with them at all. I'll send them into dust, into the cosmos, if I have my way. They can go figure it out. But as far as us being light beings, that's exactly what we are. I don't want to necessarily make this like a huggy-feely video or something, but I'm just telling you that it is a reality. It's not something that's a feel-good thing to say. It is a reality. What we really are, the essence of what we are as individuals, first off, we're all interconnected. We are not what we actually see. And it's our intentions and our will and what we consciously want to do to, help people affects the entire earth. People that even have the most money, I don't know what's going to happen to them whenever their bodies expire, because I could tell you they're probably worried about that deal. I can already tell you that right now, because they don't know. And actually I don't know, and nobody knows. But we all have a sense of what it's going to be. So anyway, a lot of these things are interrelated, but let me just say this. Don't be concentrating on the next world so much, and death and things like that. Worry about life. And I think we can actually probably live a lot longer in our own bodies, because I don't understand what's on the next realm or on the other side, and I'm not in a hurry to find out. We could probably increase our longevity through just even plain sunlight, without even getting into all these fancy instrumentations and electronic devices. But maybe some of these electronic devices will help us, like Spooky 2, the Lakofi coil, and actually the foods we eat and the nutrition that improves our frequency and our fertility. Because that's another thing the Illuminati are trying to do, is knock down our fertility. So anyway, been kind of lengthy on this, and I don't know where I was going with it exactly, but hopefully I did impart to you a couple things that are a little bit different, because the way we actually improve our being, even our physical being, which, in essence we're light beings, but in our physical being, what is actually driving that physical being? It is energy, light, and frequency. And a lot of that not only comes from the sun, it comes from the foods we eat, and the higher frequency foods are generally herbs and essential oils, versus and the worst ones are processed foods and genetically modified. It all works together. It all works together. But looking at all these things that are coming out of us, like, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this. If you concentrate on that too much, it's going to be self-defeating. Because the way to beat them, the bad people, or the bad consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, the evil that's in this world, is not really, maybe it's partly head on, but a lot of it is your conscious mind, the way you will things, because it actually affects the material world. But then I don't want people to use that as a cop-out and think, well, I'm just going to try to will something and not do something about it. Because I'll give you an example again about my dad. He did not sit on his ass and say, I'm going to will that somebody out there needs help, and I'm going to will that they get help. No, he actually got in his car. He took his tire chains, he took his jumper cables, he took some water with him, a spare can of gas, and he took risks even picking up hitchhikers he didn't know. He helped people. He helped people. He didn't take a dime for it. He did a lot of things for people, man. So, he was actually the true Samaritan all the way. So, I'm going to tell you right now that, don't be a cop-out, because sometimes that's why I get mad at religious people, because sometimes they Oh, they say, oh, it's just written in the Bible. Yeah, yeah, I know it's written in the Bible. It doesn't mean you don't take action against things and take action to correct things. And on the inside, though, what drives you to do those type of things is your inner spirit, your inner consciousness. It's something we always have. It's something we always have. It's not BS. You know, sometimes I get annoyed at some of these videos out there on YouTube. They're always talking about these, you know, la-di-da things too much. And I'm like, you know, it's true, but you really got to take the hands-on approach too. And I can tell you that I think that, you know, we can actually survive a lot longer in our own bodies, and it would be ideal, I think, that actually the best people live the longest and they outlive their evil people, and they correct the situation on this earth. So, you know, that might be one of the things too, because maybe that's the way things will really change. And I'll tell you, I'll leave you with this too, because I had something else on here. One thing I've always observed with wealthy people, boy, they seem to get surrounded by people that are professionals. I call them the big bucks bullshit artists, the BBB, the big bucks bullshit. Because they have to, they're surrounded by professional people that charge big fees for all their different gizmos and different things they can sell them or whatever, which actually insulates a lot of the wealthiest people from the real truth, because the real truth many times is not high dollar. And even that goes with medical, health, having the best enjoyment in life, having actually the most physical wealth in a true sense. Because, you know, even the wealthy have a major problems managing their wealth. They're on 24 hours a day worrying about different things or what's going on in this and what's going on in that. They buy an extra home and they buy another home over here, and then they worry about it, you know. So I could tell you that the truth is actually simple, and it's not something the wealthy even see, because they're so insulated by the layers of professional garbage that's around them, which leech on them like barnacles, because they're looking for a cash cow to keep paying these professional fees. And they hide the simple things, because the simple things that work the best are the cheapest. You know, a lot of times I got the simple stuff on this channel, believe me. Anything I put on this channel is not big bucks. And if it is a couple bucks, the return on the investment is outstanding. Outstanding. So anyway, I just figured to leave with this thought, you know. Keep a positive attitude. Do favors for people. Don't ask anything in return. And just be a good person. Be a good Samaritan. Don't be used, though. Don't be used by jerks. But be a good Samaritan. Be a good person. And it'll all come around. Karma has a way of working its way around.